What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we are going to be discussing and giving a prediction for every single potential champ fight that exists in the UFC right now. If you're brain dead and don't know what a champ fight is, it's when one fighter from one division goes up and challenges for the belt in their next division to try and hold two belts simultaneously. Many people have done it in terms of winning a belt, losing their belt, and then going up and winning another belt. But not many people in UFC history have done it at the same time. Only Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, Amanda Nunes, and Henry Cejudo have held two belts simultaneously. Over the last few years, it's been a much more popular thing to see attempts of champ status. Other guys like Alex Pereira, two belts, but not at the same time. So yeah, you guys know the whole go with it already. But I'm going to be discussing every single division and what would happen if that fighter went up and challenged for the belt in their next division. Anyway, let's get started with the flyweight champion, Alessandro Pantoja. What would happen if he went up and fought Merab Dvalishvili? Now, I think Merab would win. I think that would be my prediction. I think that would be most people's prediction. But I do think Pantoja has a decent style. Not a good style, but a decent style to beat Merab. I don't think there are that many really good styles to beat Merab. I think you have to be bigger than Merab to beat him, number one. So I think if someone's smaller than him, I just don't think that's going to go well for him, to be honest. Like, Pantoja's not a big guy. He's going to get muscled around. He's going to get kind of tossed around a little bit. In terms of his advantage, he does have the jiu-jitsu skill. Maybe he could catch Merab in a scramble or something. Maybe he could reverse him. And we know Merab isn't as good on bottom. But Alessandro Pantoja, we've seen him kind of gas in fights. We've seen him look a little bit tired later on, and Merab definitely does not get tired. That does not happen. And I wouldn't see Pantoja finishing Merab. I don't think he would knock him out at all, and I don't think he would be able to submit Merab. Now, maybe he could reverse him and hold some top position, so maybe he wins a round or two, but ultimately I do think Merab would win this fight by decision. He's just too physical, he's too strong, the cardio is too good, and yeah, I don't think he's going to get chinned by Pantoja. I think you need to have a KO threat against Merab, and then you also need to have good counter-grappling. Because he fought O'Malley, who had the KO threat, but O'Malley didn't really have enough counter-grappling. I do think Pantoja's jiu-jitsu is something that would be beneficial to a lot of guys at bantamweight if they're going to win, because if you're going to reverse him But it's not even like a problem of getting held down. Like, it's not like a Makhachev where he's going to dominate you on the ground and submit you and take you back and stuff. Like, Merab just lays there and then pushes a pace. But if you can reverse him, maybe put some grappling back his way, maybe try and pressure him a little bit, maybe it'll work, maybe you'd win a round or two. But yeah, I think Merab's just too good. He's not even that skillful, but he's just too physical. The attributes are all in his favour: size, strength, cardio, chin's close. Both of them have solid chins. But yeah, I just don't think Pantoja would be big enough to get it done here, or wouldn't have enough power as well. I could even see Merab just beating him on the feet, maybe. But anyway, let's move on, though, to what would happen if Merab went up to fight Ilia Topuria. We've got Merab Dvalishvili versus Ilia Topuria. I think that this is probably the most dominant results that would occur as a result of any of these champ fights. I think Ilia Topuria is a horrendous matchup for Merab. Obviously, we know these two would never fight each other. They're friends. They're Georgian brothers, This fight would never take place, of course. But if it did, in a hypothetical world, I think Merab would get smoked. I think Ilia is that style that you need to be able to beat him. KO power number one, so you can actually drop and finish Merab. I know before, I don't know why I said Merab has a great chin. His chin's not that good. His recovery is solid, but his chin, he gets dropped and cracked a bit. But Ilia Topuria, he's got the KO power. He would, in my opinion, absolutely sleep Merab if he landed clean on him, like we saw with Moraes or Cejudo. And he's got the hooks as well. O'Malley throws a lot more straight punches. Merab gets caught by hooks coming in when he exchanges in the pocket, like against Moraes and like against Cejudo. I think Ilia would absolutely fucking slump him if he landed one of those. Also, Ilia's counter-grappling's good. He's stronger than Merab, I would imagine. Merab probably has better cardio. That's probably the only advantage he's got going for him. But yeah, Ilia's faster, stronger, better striking, better or maybe not, like, better jiu-jitsu, I think. Better actual technical wrestling, honestly. Merab just pushes a pace. But I really don't see any way Merab would win this fight. I think he would get thoroughly demolished and smoked and flatlined, probably inside 2 rounds. Maybe the first round, Merab's just able to kind of sit on the outside a bit. But anytime Merab comes in, he's just going to get cracked. We see his hands do not come up to his fucking chin. His defense is atrocious. And even though a guy like O'Malley kind of fought a bit timid, Topuria is not fighting timid. Topuria is not backing up. Topuria is not skirting around the outside trying to find the perfect counter shot. He's going to go in there and exchange with you. And Merab is not going to hurt Ilya at all. Like, there's just no chance he gets cracked by Merab. The only way he would lose this fight would be the way Merab wins every fight, which is just nut hugging. But I think Ilya would smoke him. I think this would probably be the worst outcome of a double champ attempt in terms of the outcome for the guy moving up. Obviously, it would be a great outcome for many of the fans, I'm sure. But Merab, I do think he would get absolutely demolished if he tried to move up and go for champ. I think the same would happen if he fought Volk, but just not as badly. I think he would just lose the decision. I think if he fought Lopez, he'd probably get smoked. But yeah, Ilya right now, no chance he's winning a second belt. Anyway, let's move on though to the the featherweight to lightweight title discussion, and probably the topic of this video and the main one that I wanted to talk about. Got Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Now, this is a absolute 50-50 fight in my opinion. This is one that I'm watching tape, I'm doing the research, I'm really getting into the weeds and getting into the outside foot battle on this one, because honestly, I'll be real with you, most fights, I just fucking pick them. I don't watch tape. You think I watched tape for fucking Rakic and Ankalaev? No. I just, in my mind, was like, oh, Rakic has got a decent style to beat Ankalaev. This is one I'm breaking down. This is one you're getting the fucking Dan Hardy 30-minute war room breakdown for this matchup if it happened. We can only dream, because the UFC they do a great job of putting on fights in divisions that we want to see, but a lot of the time we don't get these cool kind of hypothetical champ fights, which I think a lot of people would like to see. We get a few of them. We got Volkanovski-Makhachev, and that was a very close fight. I think Makhachev won 3-2 in my opinion. Volk had a lot of success. He pushed the pace late. He had Islam very gassed at the end of the fight. But what Volk didn't have in that fight is KO power and the ability to just absolutely smoke Islam Makhachev with one shot. But Ilya does, because we have seen Islam put out before. We have seen him cracked with a counter hook. I do believe it was a counter hook from Adriano Martins, aka Pantoja. And Ilya has that KO power. Ilya could drop Islam, who does sometimes leave himself out of position. I am not saying Islam is a flawed fighter by any means. I think he is one of the two best mixed martial artists on the planet right now, alongside Ilia Topuria. Whether it's number 1 or 2, I think a fight would be the only way to figure that out. I don't think anyone else is better right now, well-rounded in the grappling, in the striking, the wrestling, as Belal Muhammad would say. So this fight would be a very competitive one, and I don't think either guy would get finished, to be honest. Because even though I do think people say Ilya would KO Islam, some people that are breaking this fight down or giving a prediction, I think Islam's defense has kind of shored itself up, and I don't think he's just really chinny. Like, we've seen him hurt. Volk did crack him, but I think his defense is actually pretty solid, and I think we've seen him get a lot better at blocking shots, at rolling with punches, at defending the offense coming back his way. Poirier wasn't really able to crack him really clean and rock him. He didn't really get stumbled by Poirier. He got stumbled a bit by Volk, and he got dropped in the 5th round when he was tired. But we don't really see this guy just get cracked early anymore. It doesn't really happen. His counter-striking is great. I think Ilya is a better striker than him. That's the thing. That's where it gets interesting, because I do think if these guys stood for 25 minutes, I think Ilya gets the better of it and maybe does KO him, or maybe does finish him with strikes, because I don't think Islam's got as good of a chin as Max Holloway. We've seen that. We've seen Islam put away. We've seen him dropped before. We've seen him rocked. We haven't really seen Holloway get rocked that much before this fight with Ilya. But I do think Ilya would struggle with the size and the strength and the grappling of Islam Makhachev, because I think Volk is slightly stronger than Ilya. I think he's got a bit of a better defensive grappling base. Now, maybe this is unproven, but we did see, though, we have seen Ilya taken down by Bryce Mitchell. I'm picking at straws here. There's not much to go off. Like, neither of these two really have that much to go off. We've seen him dropped with a head kick. That is another thing, is Islam does throw head kicks, and the height of Islam compared to the height of Ilya would, I do think, favour Islam. We've seen him now. He's got some practice with the shorter opponent. He's got some practice fighting Volkanovski. And I do think if he fought Ilya, he would be able to translate some of that offensive striking over to that matchup. Throwing the head kicks in there, throwing the right hands, which Holloway was landing on Ilya. Ilya's chin's pretty solid, I'll give him that. And I don't think Islam would finish him with strikes. I think if Islam wins this, it's a decision. I think if Ilya wins this, maybe he gets a finish and maybe he kind of wears out a decision. But I would ultimately probably lean towards Islam Makhachev. Now, maybe if he looks really iffy against Tsuyukin and has a really close fight with him, maybe I'll take that back. Maybe I might end up picking Ilya if this fight happens, especially if he goes out there, smokes Volk in a rematch, or smokes Lopez. I will definitely pick him in a fight against Islam. Or not definitely, but well, I keep saying definitely, I will consider picking him a lot more than I would now, but I still think it's 50%. Now, you've probably seen I've put the percentage chance that they become double champion. That's obviously just in this matchup alone, and that percentage chance is how much percentage chance I give them in the fight. So you might say 50, 50 is pretty low. Well, no, 50 means I think it's a 50-50 fight, because if I put it more than that, that would mean I think Ilya is going to win. So I think this fight's hella competitive. I think it would be very close. I'd love to see it. I know Lucas Tracy is saying this is the fight that must be next. I don't want to see this right next, but I want to see it within the next year. I want to see it within the next year. I think this would be an incredible main event for next year's Abu Dhabi card. Ilya's just fought in Abu Dhabi. I think Ilya's going to have one more fight before then. Normally you got to get more than fucking 1 or 2 title defenses before you go up. But in this case, if we see... if Belal, this works out much better for us if Belal beats Shavkat. I know we don't like Belal as champ, but if you want to see this fight, then you're rooting for Belal against Shavkat, because if Belal beats Shavkat, Islam's not going up. Islam has said he doesn't want to go up and fight Belal. I think they respect that bonds that they've kind of got, the brother-brother bond. But if Shavkat wins, I think he would go up and fight Shavkat. Plus, they might just want to sort out welterweight a little bit more. So, you actually want Belal to beat Shavkat, because then Islam can beat Arman Suyukin in January, February, whenever they make that fight. And then I think his next fight and then what they'll probably do is Ilia Topuria versus either Volkanovski or Lopez in like June or July in Spain. And in the meantime, they might I'll tell you what's going to happen. Arman Islam in January. They might end up doing Lopez and Volkanovski in February for an interim title while they're trying to figure out how to get to Spain. They'll do Spain with the winner of that versus Ilya in like June or July. And then if Ilya wins that fight, I think they might try and do Ilya and Islam, especially if they can build some heat before then. They might try and do Ilya versus Islam in October next year. That'd be sick. So yeah, I've yapped for a long time about this one. This is the main cause of the video, because I do think it's a very close fight. I put up a poll, 70% of you said Islam. I think Ilya's got a really good shot. I just think the strength and size of Islam would be a bit too much, and especially if they fought in Abu Dhabi, it's a close fight. Maybe Ilya should win on damage, but we know how the Abu Dhabi fucking Muhammad Ali, or whatever the fuck the guy's name was that scored at 30-27 for Renat, that guy's probably going to be judging, and alhamdulillah, he scores it for Makhachev, so I think we might end up even seeing a robbery split decision kind of setup, but I think this will be an incredible fight, very close, very competitive, and I want to see it happen at some point. Anyway, let's move on though to the next matchup. Next up, we got Islam Makhachev versus Belal Muhammad. Now, again, I don't think this fight would happen. As I just discussed, Islam said he doesn't want to go up and fight Belal. He wants to go up and fight Shavkat or someone else. Shavkat's Muslim, so I don't know what the issue is there. I guess just because they train together. But I think this is another one where I would be quite confident on the winner. I think Islam is just better than Belal everywhere. I think he's a better striker. I think he's a better grappler. I think he's maybe... Belal's advantage, maybe he's stronger, maybe his cardio is a little bit better, but I just think Islam's got him covered everywhere. I would probably pick him by finish. Maybe it's just a competitive decision. Maybe Belal's able to kind of stall out some time against the fence and just lose in the striking exchanges on damage. I think Islam's better in the clinch. I think he's better on top, better jiu-jitsu, better grappling, better striking, probably a better chin, to be honest, as well. The chin's close. Belal's got a decent chin. But I don't know. I think Ilya's just got him... Not easily. I think Islam's just got him covered everywhere. I think I would be confident picking him. If it's Shavkat, it's a different story. Shavkat does have a bit of the tools in the striking, but even Shavkat is quite open on the feet. I'm not even really made up my mind about Shavkat Belal. I think Shavkat's just going to win because he's got plot armor. But even that, I think even Islam and Shavkat, I think I might even pick Shavkat. But Shavkat at least has the size advantage. Belal and Islam are the same fucking size. At least Shavkat would have a bit of a frame advantage to throw some knees in the clinch and stuff and, make the takedowns a bit more difficult to get. But I think Belal and Islam would be quite one-sided in favour of Islam Makhachev. Anyway, let's move on though to another matchup. Next up, we got Belal Muhammad versus Dricus du Plessis, the first fighter training out of Africa, real African champion. Breathe the African air. I think I would pick Dricus du Plessis to win this fight pretty comfortably. He's just too physical for Belal. I don't think Belal's taken him down. I think he's just too strong to stop that early. And the narrative around Dricus' cardio being bad kind of has to be gone, because we've seen him push in the later rounds with Strickland, and we've seen him sub Izzy in the 4th round. So I don't think you can say this guy's cardio is atrocious. And also, I think if you're going to beat Dricus, you have to, one, have better cardio than it. You have to either get him early, like I think Hamzat would, or you have to have the cardio to outgas him, but then also have the power to actually put him away. Because even if you've got better cardio, like a Michelle, not a Michelle Platter, he's got terrible cardio, like an Anthony Hernandez, sorry, is what I meant to say. Even if you've got better cardio than Dricus, you can push a pace. You then have to be able to make him pay as a result. And I still think we've seen that Dricus is able to be strong and still be physical and use his size and his strength in the later rounds, even when he is a bit gassed. Like, he was taking down Strickland and dominating him a bit in the 4th round. Took down Izzy and subbed him in the 4th round. Still got power, rocked Izzy in the 4th round, you know. And Belal, maybe Belal's chilling, like, pace-wise, maybe he's fine. He's just pushing the pace, but I still just don't think Belal has the tools to impose his will that much, to dominate Dricus, to take him down, to hurt him on the feet. He's not going to hurt Dricus on the feet. I think you've got to be a kind of clean counter-striker like Izzy to actually crack him a little bit, if you're going to beat this guy on the feet. And I don't think Belal has fucking Hamzat level grappling to just sub him in the first. Belal does not submit people. He goes to decision. And if he went to a decision against Dricus, I think Dricus would just be too big and too physical for him, and he'd just get out-strengthed here. So yeah, I would pick Dricus pretty confidently if this fight took place. But yeah, Belal's proved me wrong. Maybe he does it again, but I doubt this happens. And there's no chance the UFC would even give this guy a double champ chance or an opportunity, because they just don't want it. They do not want to live in a world where Dana White does not want to wrap 2 belts around Belal Muhammad. So there's no chance this fight would happen. Anyway, let's move on though to the next matchup. Next up, we got Dricus du Plessis versus Alex Pereira. Now this one is actually more competitive than I think a lot of people think, because I think a lot of people just see Dricus fight and look sloppy on the feet and be like, yeah, he'd get KO'd. But he's not completely retarded. He might fight like it sometimes, and he might face plant the canvas against Izzy when shooting for takedowns, or throw himself on bottom against Brad Tavares. But he's not always retarded, and he does grapple when he needs to, and he will use that as a base. And if he fought Pereira, I don't think he's going to be like fucking Jamal Hill or Sean Strickland or Yuri Prohaska and just stand with him and just get slept. Because if he did stand with him, yes, he gets slept. And I would pick Pereira to win, because I think at 205, he is strong enough, physical enough, and not affected enough badly by the weight cut to where I think he would be able to keep it on the feet a little bit and catch him. Because Dricus does have decent entries, but they're not super, super clean. He's not like and I don't think he's as strong as a Blachowicz to take him down. I know Michailidis took him down, but like, you know. So if Dricus did relentless... There's a fucking truck going past my house. Shut the fuck up. There is a... Edit that out. There is a potential that if Dricus just fucking like pushes a grappling pace relentlessly the entire time, he could win. Because I do think if he took down Dricus in the first, Dricus could probably defend the subs. But I think Dricus has... Pereira could defend the subs. But I do think Dricus has better submissions than Blachowicz. I'll say that. I think he does take the back, and we do see him get the choke effectively like he did against Izzy. So maybe he could win. Like, I'm not as quick... I think I would still lean Peloton, because I think Dricus would just stand for a little bit too long, get his legs chewed up, and get cracked or caught on the way in, just doing his blitz. Because I'm sorry, if he blitzes with his fucking 4 overhand right punch combination, he's just going to get counter left hooked like Yuri did. And that will happen. And I don't think Dricus' chin is as good as Yuri's. Maybe it is, but I think it's close. But I think he would get KO'd if that happened. But if he just pushes grappling pace relentlessly, he probably could win. But I just don't think he would do it quickly enough or effectively enough, where I think you need to just shoot for the legs from like literally second 1 of the fight. Otherwise, I think you're cooked. So I think Pereira would win, but if Dricus won, it would not surprise me at all. Anyway, let's move on though to the next matchup. Next up, we got Poatan, Alex Pereira versus Jonathan Jones. Now, this one is actually... I'm going to talk about an Aspinall fight as well. I think this is closer than an Aspinall fight. Now, you might say I'm retarded, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think John Jones looked absolutely atrocious on the feet in his last fight, and I think he's going to look mid against Stipe. Now, I've been really wanting to tell myself to pick Stipe and just be that guy, because if I get it right, it'll be funny as fuck. But I'm not going to be just picking fucking plus 400 underdogs because they're a decent style matchup. Because yes, on paper, Stipe is actually a pretty solid style matchup to beat Jones. Like, he's got decent takedown defense, he's strong, he's the first heavyweight with actual grappling that he's fought, he's got good boxing, and Stipe only really loses historically to guys that KO him. Apart from the decision to JDS, Struve finished him, Ngannou finished him, and DC finished him in the first fight. But apart from that, JDS decision is his only loss, and I don't think Jones is capable of KOing a man without a 27-punch combination, including back of the head shots and knees to the head. So that's what John Jones's KOs usually consist of. And I don't think he's going to do that to Stipe. I think he's going to look mid as fuck on the feet. But I just think Stipe's a bit too old, and I think Stipe's going to lose. But I do think John Jones is going to look kind of washed. And if he does stick around for one more, which I think if he does, it will be a Pereira fight. He's not going to fight Aspinall because we know he'd get smoked. I think his takedowns could look mid. I'd still pick Jones because you got to go with the logical pick here. And you just can't be picking a guy who started training MMA, like, who made his MMA debut this fucking decade, basically. You can't pick that guy to beat the dude that's arguably the GOAT of the sport and been a champion since, like, 10 years before Pereira started his career. Like, that would just prove that the sport is fucking broken, but I would love to see it. Ultimately, I think Jones would be able to get the takedowns, be a little bit too physical, kind of drag him down. We do see Pereira get taken down by stuff. Like, Izzy took him down. I'm not going to forget that. Fucking Izzy took him down. I do think a light heavyweight, or even if he bulked up to heavyweight and fought there, he'd definitely be stronger. He would work on the grappling. But I just don't... If you give him, like, 2 years, like, if you give Pereira 2 years of training camp of just pure fucking grappling, I think he absolutely smokes John Jones on the feet because he would keep it on the feet. But I think if you make this fight next year sometime, if this fight takes place next year at fucking MSG or some shit, like if we get Pereira Ankalaev in the meantime and Pereira wins that, if Pereira stuffs takedowns from Ankalaev and wins, I'll be like, damn, he actually might beat Jones. If Ankalaev just stands with him and loses, that won't change my opinion on the fight. But I think Jones' striking sucks, and I think he would get cracked and hurt on the feet if he stood for too long. But I don't think Jones is retarded. Jones is a pussy. He will just shoot for legs if he needs to, and I think he would do that successfully. So I'd probably lean towards Jones in that matchup. But yeah. Anyway, let's talk about a Aspinall fight as well. Pereira versus Aspinall. I think this is harder for Pereira. I think this is a less likely win for him than the Jones fight. I think Aspinall may be more inclined to stand and have his chin up and get caught because he does have a habit of doing that. But I think if he goes in there against Pereira, I don't think he's too dumb. Now, maybe he makes a last-minute switch in his brain and says, fuck it, I'm going to try and KO this dude. But I think he would game plan to grapple, and I think he's just way too strong and too physical and too explosive. Like, you saw Jones' takedown against Garn. He got to his back and dragged him down. Aspinall's takedown against fucking, like, Volkov, he just rugby tackle and blast double-legged him. Like, he's more explosive with the takedowns than Jones. I think he would just be too physical and too strong for Pereira. He's way bigger than him. He's way stronger than him, in my opinion. And he's got submissions as well on the ground. And he's also more dangerous than Jones on the feet and actually KOs people with punches. So I think this is just a terrible matchup for Pereira. And if it takes place, I don't think it'll go well for Poatan. So yeah, I'd pick Aspinall by finish. Anyway, let's move on to a couple other matchups to discuss. We always love talking about some women's MMA on the channel. I know you guys have been asking for more WMMA breakdowns. You know, you want that 15-minute Dan Hardy war and breakdown of Verna Jandiroba versus Tatiana Suarez. Don't worry, guys, it's coming soon. But Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko. This is actually a sick fight. And it might actually be happening next because all indications are saying that Weili wasn't booked against Verna or Suarez, so she's probably going to move up. And Dana White said they've been working something out for Weili. So I think we're actually going to see this fight, and I think it's actually it's actually an exciting matchup. All jokes aside, I know 95% of women's MMA sucks. This would be sick, and I actually want this to happen. I actually would pick Weili. I know Shevchenko just wet blanketed Grasso in the last fight. But I think Weili's grappling has looked really good recently. And the weaknesses of Weili recently, in my opinion, have been like Lemos and Jianan looked good against her and kind of tagged her up a bit on the feet. Now, maybe Shevchenko a bit better cardio, but I don't think she's looks that great recently. I think Grasso kind of, even though she lost the trilogy in that first and second fight, I think she proved that you can kind of tag Shevchenko and beat her up a bit on the feet. So I actually would pick Weili in that fight. I actually want to see it. It would be quite interesting. This would probably be the best women's MMA fight that could be made right now, except for maybe Kayla and Nunes. But I think it's the highest level fight that would be made in women's MMA, and I'd actually like to see it. Anyway, one more fight. Let's get this video over and done with. We got the highly anticipated fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Juliana Pena, the rematch. I'm obviously joking. No one cares about this fight. Shevchenko would win easily. Pena sucks. She's literally better than everywhere. And Shevchenko's won this already, but I put it in for the sake of technically talking about every matchup on this video. But that'll do it, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, follow my Instagram, Left Lane MMA. Let me know how you think these champ fights would go. Drop some other videos you guys want to see in the comments. I'll do the 3 most liked comment video ideas. And yeah, peace out, guys. See you in the next one.